Hey guys, it's Joel from guntoter.org. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing the Soileater Radio Retention Tabs, which is another way of adding retention to your various placards or micro rig inserts. Now, before we talk about that, if you go down in the corner, hit like, share, subscribe. If you can go down below into the description and check out our Patreon page, it would really help us out. So last week, we talked about the VXV Concepts XL Retention Kit. And the cool thing about it was a way for you, a modular way for you to add additional retention, a secondary type of retention to your micro rigs or to your placards. And I mentioned that there was another product that I was going to review. Now, what you can see here, obviously on a Haley Micro 556 insert, this is the Soileater Tactical Radio Retention Tab. Now, even though it's got radio in the name, that doesn't mean it's the only thing that you can use it for. So as you can see, it's obviously usable for magazines. It can be usable for any number of things that you might want to retain, especially if you have something where you don't have an insert like the Esstac or the Haley that you can use. Obviously, alternatively, you can also use it to add secondary retention to one of the inserts. There's some advantages and disadvantages to this, and we'll go through them real quick. First off, the advantages. It's really well made. It's very simple. It's very well made. Much like the VXV Concepts, except this one is using, I guess, more traditional materials, right? It's using webbing versus the laminate that VXV uses. Obviously, this is also a single versus the triple or quadruple that VXV does. Now, other than that, it's designed very similarly. The front and the back tabs both have hook on one side, loop on the other. So you can use it with really virtually all of the various placards and micro rigs that are out there. Some of the other advantages to it is because it is a single, if you already have your insert shoved inside your micro rig or shoved inside your placard, it might actually be a little bit easier to install a single versus trying to cram the longer line of the VXV in there. Also, if you, for whatever reason, don't actually need the full-on retention, like a 3-piece retention, you really only need to retain one thing. Say you're working in a job where you don't need a secondary retention for your mags. Your mags are good to go in whatever insert you have, but next to your mags, you've got some other item that needs to be retained, like a radio, like the name says. So it's really a good option to have basically a single. There's also, if you have a larger or a wider placard that is maybe a little bit wider than the VXV would be able to really center up on, you can obviously adjust these because they're singles. You can adjust them wherever you want them. So for your larger placards or something like that, it might also be a little bit of a benefit. Really the only disadvantage that I can think of to this particular piece of equipment is the price. So these radio retention tabs are $17 each. The VXV is only $35.50. So to put 3 of these, if you're doing secondary retention, for example, to put 3 of these on here, you're looking at $51 versus $35.50. Even if you add the S&S Precision tabs to the VXV, you're still only at, I think, $45 is what 8492 is charging. So it's really pricey if you're going to do multiple of them, whether it's on mags or whether it's on whatever. But I still wanted to tell you about it because, again, not everyone needs the full VXV. So like if you're only using one retention, I mean, pay $17 instead of $35, right? Now, if you're doing all 3, or if you're trying to retain multiple other items, whether it's mags or whatever, yeah, the VXV might work out better for you. But it's still a good idea to consider as you're analyzing your needs. It's still a good idea to consider the single. Also, if for whatever reason you just really aren't into the laminates and you just really want the older school materials, I mean, here you go. This is what you got. So even though it is a little pricier, I do think it is a good piece of kit to know about. It's a good piece of kit to consider. It's got all the advantages really of the VXV, except for the price. The price is kind of really the one hang up. So that's just something, you know, to put in your analysis as well. But with all that said, I do think it's a good piece of kit. You can get it either direct from Soileater, or Haley Strategic also sells it on their website. So maybe if you're already there and buying a bunch of stuff, throw it in. Either way, you get the same options. There's no, it's not like 8492 and VXV. There's not like different options depending on where you buy it from. It's the exact same product no matter where you buy it. So it's really up to you and well, honestly, where you can find it in stock most times. So with all that said, I hope this was useful for you. I know it's really quick. I'm trying to keep it short because while it's not a super exciting piece of gear and it's not super complicated, it's still a really useful piece of kit that I wanted to get out there. So if you got questions, if you got comments, if you've used it before, you like it, you don't like it, whatever, drop those down below. I do read them. I do respond to them. Sometimes it takes me a little bit, but I do get back with you. Again, if you could help us out with our Patreon page, that would be awesome. There are a few benefits to being a Patreon member, so you can go check that out over there. And as always, thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you again next time.